Not long ago, buying a computer usually meant getting a hard disk drive. Today, most new computers come with an SSD instead. The change happened so quickly that many people simply accepted it without knowing what actually changed. Both devices store your files, both keep your operating system, and both continue holding your data even after the computer is turned off. So why is an SSD considered so much faster? The answer begins inside the drive itself. Let's start with the SSD. SSD stands for solid-state drive. It stores your information inside tiny electronic memory chips called NAND flash memory. These chips contain billions of microscopic memory cells. Each one stores tiny electrical charges, representing the ones and zeros that make up every file on your computer. When you open a document, launch a game, or start your operating system, the SSD doesn't need to wait for anything to move. It simply retrieves the required information electronically, almost instantly. Because there are no moving parts, SSDs are also silent. They produce very little heat, use less electricity, and they're much more resistant to bumps and vibrations. That's one of the reasons laptops became thinner, lighter, and more reliable after SSDs became common. But if SSDs have so many advantages, why did computers use hard disk drives for so many years? To answer that, we need to look at how an HDD works. Unlike an SSD, a hard disk drive stores information mechanically. Inside the drive are one or more circular metal disks called platters. These platters spin continuously while the computer is running, usually at speeds of 5,400 or 7,200 revolutions per minute. That's well over 100 complete rotations every second. The surface of each platter is coated with a magnetic material. Instead of storing electrical charges, an HDD stores information by arranging tiny magnetic regions across these spinning disks. Whenever your computer needs a file, another component called the read and write head swings into position above the platter. As the disk spins underneath, the head reads the magnetic patterns or changes them to save new information. This design served computers extremely well for decades. It was dependable, affordable, and capable of storing enormous amounts of data. But it came with one unavoidable limitation. Everything depends on physical movement. The disks must rotate, the read head must travel to the correct location, and only then can the data be accessed. When you press the power button, your computer has to load thousands of files before your operating system is ready. An HDD retrieves those files one by one, moving its read head across the spinning platters over and over again. An SSD, on the other hand, can access those files almost immediately. That's why computers with SSDs often start in just a few seconds, while older computers with HDDs can take much longer. The same thing happens when opening applications, or launching games, or copying large files. The SSD spends less time searching for information and more time delivering it. But speed isn't the only difference. Because an HDD contains moving parts, it's also more sensitive to physical shocks. Dropping a laptop while its hard drive is running can damage the spinning disks or the read head. In some cases, that can lead to permanent data loss. An SSD has no moving parts, so although it can still fail like any electronic device, it's generally much better at handling bumps and vibrations. This makes SSDs especially useful in laptops, which are designed to be carried from place to place. Another difference is noise. If you've ever used an older desktop computer, you may have heard a gentle spinning sound, or a clicking noise while files were being accessed. Those sounds come from the hard disk drive. An SSD is completely silent. Since nothing moves inside it, there's simply no mechanical noise to produce. Power consumption is another advantage. Because an SSD doesn't need to spin heavy disks all day, it uses less electricity. That means less heat and often longer battery life for laptops. So with all these advantages, you might wonder why hard disk drives haven't disappeared completely. The answer to that is simple: price. Although SSDs have become much cheaper over the years, hard disk drives still offer much more storage for the same amount of money. For example, if you need several terabytes of storage for photos, videos, backups, or large media collections, an HDD is often the more economical choice.